Critics hail Sarah Polley's Women Talking as unlike any film you've seen before and one of the cinematic events of the year, and is now nominated for 6 Critics' Choice Awards, including Best Picture. Starring Rooney Mara, Claire Foy, Jessie Buckley, Ben Whishaw, and Frances McDormand, Women Talking has also been named one of 2022 AFI Awards Movies of the Year, one of the top films of the year, and winner of Best Ensemble by the National Board of Review, and is nominated for 3 Independent Spirit Awards, including Best Feature, for your consideration in all categories, including Best Picture.
Hello, listeners and readers of AwardsWatch.com. This is the Awards Watch Podcast, episode 163, on January 1st, 2023, a brand new year, same old podcast. I am Ryan McQuade, the executive editor of AwardsWatch.com. Joining me today is editor-in-chief Erik Anderson.
I am not hungover today.
Woohoo!
You look it a little bit.
Rude!
Nicole Ackman.
Hi, I'm so excited to talk about all of our topics for today.
Yeah, that you prepared for.
I did. I have pages and pages of notes. You're going to wish I had prepared less, honestly.
Yeah. We'll see if Erik did that. Dan Bayer
Happy New Year, everybody.
and Kevin Lee.
Hey guys, Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to everyone here, all of our other podcast team members, all of our listeners and readers, honestly. We are doing this podcast on the first of the year, brand new year. We're not going to talk about really a lot of Oscar predictions today. We're just going to kind of talk about our favorites of last year and some of the things that we're looking forward to this year. No listener questions this go around either, just general laid back kind of conversation, something for all of you guys out there to listen to as the new year starting. And with that, we're just going to kind of just dive on into some of these things. And the first thing, I'm kind of curious from all of you, what you guys thought of the year 2022, both at the movies and for your life, personal. Was it a good year for everyone? Did everyone think it, when they were looking back on it, that it was a good year? Erik, you're nodding your head.
Yes, it was a gorgeously cinematic year. It was a fantastic year for everything. Documentaries, non-English language, everything. Blockbusters. It was a banner year.
Yeah. Anybody else think it was a good year?
Yeah, I think it's a great year, honestly, for cinema. It's one of those years where I'm really passionate, not just about my top 10, but about my top 40. There's so many films that I love this year from all sorts of genres, so many great films from female directors and directors of color, which is something I always love to see. And it was also a great year for me because I got my puppy. So, a win-win all around. I mean, I almost died in grad school, but I got my puppy. So priorities.
There you go.
Yeah, I'm with Nicole, honestly. I have close to 200 movies watched, and I have genuine love for a little beyond my top 50. It was a very, very good year for movies.
Kevin?
I pretty much agree with everyone here. I felt like the year started off really slow, where I was wondering if it could rival 2021. But I'm looking at my top 30, top 20. I feel like, wow, I love a majority of these more than last year's favorites. Yeah. And that's not easy, Yeah.
I saw. Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. Sorry, Kevin. I didn't mean to jump.
Sorry, I was just gonna say, as for just me personally for this year, it was crazy. Got to write a lot of stuff and interview people, and on the producing end, got to produce some good films and learned a lot, honestly.
Yeah. I think it was a good year because we all started this venture here on this podcast that Erik gave us the A-OK to do, and we all get to be here every week and talk to our listeners and readers on our sites. I did a Twitter thread yesterday of all the things that I did. It was quite insane when Erik and I were texting each other. We're like, oh my God, we did all that in a year. Starting off the year talking to Nick Cage, ending the year with Jonathan Majors, and a bunch of great stuff in between. I saw 175 films. I went to / virtually did 6 different festivals. So there was a lot, and I got to meet everyone here except Nicole. I didn't get to meet Nicole yet. But I've already met Kevin. I spent a lot of time with Erik, unfortunately, and then I saw Dan in New York. So it was a good year, and it was a great year. I agree with Nicole. Like, it was like 40 films, 50 films that I'm like moving around, and over the last couple of years, I'm like, am I just being a really lenient grader or anything? And then I start like thinking about like, no, I'm not going to move that one to a 3.5. Like, these are all 4 stars, and it's kind of crazy how that happens, including also too, I think this year for me, I admitted a lot of wrongs this year, and which was and I was really surprised. And the one thing I was big about was that was James Cameron. Yeah, I admit that I was wrong about him, and that Avatar 2 also was really, really good. And I also was never like, and I know this is going to be very blasphemous for anyone, was never the biggest fan of It's a Wonderful Life. And I watched it at the end of the year, and I gave it 5 stars because that movie moved me absolutely to tears. So
as you should.
Right.
Well, things
right.
change. You see,
Ryan, that's growth.
It's called growth. I'm admitting it. A lot of people wouldn't. They'd stick by these things. So that's
character development right there.
There you go. Yeah.
Ryan is not a shower. He is a grower.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
I'll know that.
Weirdly, on that note, do you guys have some favorite in theater experiences, movie going experience? It doesn't even have to be in the theaters too, because sometimes you can watch a movie at home and it enhances it too. So great movie watching experiences. Do you guys have any of those from the year?
Oh yeah. Being at the Lincoln Square IMAX to see RRR with a full house and SS Rajamouli in the building.
He was there?
He was there.
Oh my God.
That was insane.
Oh.
It was by far the coolest thing. I'm like, I have seen, I was there opening weekend for Avengers Endgame, and I've seen other, like, I saw the Star Wars prequels all on opening weekend and Lord of the Rings. I have never, ever seen an audience respond to any movie like they did to this. It was truly just, my endorphins were so high the whole time, not just because of the movie, but because of how everyone was responding to it.
Did you hear that they're bringing it back to the
to LA
again?
Yeah.
And this time the director, the 2 actors, and the composer would be there.
Yeah, which, like, if you think that I didn't immediately look at what flights to LA cost, you had another thing coming. Because what I wouldn't give to be in the same building as Ram Charan. Like, but yeah, that's one of like top 3 all-time movie-going experiences. It has to be like, that was just, that was beautiful.
Yeah,
I had 2, one of which was I finally went to one of those Alamo Drafthouse movie party things.
Yeah.
And my whole family went for their Elf one, which is a movie I've seen like dozens and dozens and dozens of times. But let me tell you, it hit different on the big screen.
Yeah.
And it definitely, like, the whole family was like, okay, we need to go to more of these Alamo Drafthouse movie party things. This really was a year in which I became like an Alamo Drafthouse junkie. And my other one was I went to the opening night of Don't Worry, Darling, meaning at the theater without an empty seat. It was me and my little sister, and the entire theater was mostly, like, I would guess women aged like 15 to 30, and it was like seeing a Marvel film. Partially because
Wow.
the first time Harry Styles yelled, this one woman in the crowd was like, "Woo!" And so all of us laughed because like this woman was having a time. And then every time he yelled, we all like giggled just because I think everyone was like thinking about that lady, like, oh, she's having a good night. And there was also this like weird collective like gasp when Chris Pine said the words "good girl," and that truly was one of the funniest things I've ever witnessed in a theater. It reminded me of my like best ever theater going experience. Was a similar demographic to see Cinderella, and like every time Richard Madden spoke, everyone was like, ah. But listen, I love when you can get an original movie like that has some sort of real movie star power that gets people reacting like it's a major franchise film. Like, I love to see it.
Erik, you want to go? You want to go?
Well, I also went to a lot of festivals again this year, and that's the majority, I think, of a lot of us see our films at festivals and press screenings. So to have a theatrical experience with a regular crowd sometimes isn't that common. So I love that. I didn't have that many this year. So my main like theatrical experiences that I loved the most ended up being several from festivals. Seeing Decision to Leave with Kevin was way, way, way up there because as we've talked about many times before, we both came out of it immediately, kind of in the same headspace, which was like good, not great, sort of more respected than and admired. And we just kept circling back all day long, and everything just got better and better. But I don't know. That was a great theatrical moment and experience. And I think sometimes at festivals too, things are so fantastically elevated because you're there both with peers and with regular audiences and with stars and directors, and everything it's elevated. It's just such a heightened version of just going to the movie on a Tuesday. So there were plenty of those this year that just made it exciting. Watching Aftersun with the cast of Women Talking sitting behind us, or Tar with the cast of Women Talking sitting behind us, and you're just like,
or The Wonder, or Bones and All with the cast of Women Talking sitting behind us.
Because they went to everything.
They went to everything.
They went to everything at Telluride, and I love that. I love when actors go to fucking movies.
That was Empire of Light too. They were everywhere. Good Lord. Mm-hmm. They were like hopping on our schedule and everything that week. Yeah. Kevin.
Yeah, I agree with Erik. I felt like the movie-going experience, the theatrical experience this year has been very, very special to me. And I think it's also largely part because going to Toronto for the first time and covering TIFF in person was like just such a great experience, and being able to experience it with members of press and regular moviegoers and the people in the industry who have made the film. It's different, right? So I agree with the Decision to Leave. That was really incredible. The other one I want to give a shout out to is when I went to the premiere of The Menu, because the whole crowd was just eating that movie up, and I was having the time of my life.
No pun intended.
You can just feel the energy of that room, just like completely going along with wherever the movie wanted to take us, right? And by the time the movie was over, there was like a really short Q&A. Ray Fiennes spoke. Anya Taylor-Joy couldn't be there, so she had to be projected onto the big screen like the queen she is. And then when the movie was over and we left the theater, we were all greeted with this food cart that gave us free cheeseburgers. And it was just the best way to end that night. And I wrote the review for that movie for Erik. And I remember thinking like, oh God, it's so late. But, when that movie was over, I thought, you know what? I'm just going to sit in the hotel lounge. Give me like 2 hours. I will churn this thing out.
That's how you do it at a film festival.
Yeah, you got to do it. You got to churn them out like quickly. I remember, I think one of my favorite experiences was the first night at Telluride, because Erik and I went to see the first film was Women Talking, and they had the tribute there for Sarah Polley, and Frances McDormand presented her her medallion and knighted her with a plastic fork. And it was truly like, or a plastic knife, I think, and it was truly awesome. And then to watch that, and then just like rush to the other side of town for the premiere of Bardo, and then walking back talking about them. I think that's like the great thing about when we go to festivals, especially all of us together, is then we can just sit down and kind of talk about how we feel and how we're, you know, trying to contextualize them before we put our thoughts on the page. And then I remember staying up until 4 a.m. writing both of those reviews. Erik's snoring in the other room, and I'm just like staying up all night, just writing and loving those films more and more as I was trying to put my thoughts together. I have to say, being back at South by Southwest this year, the opening night film being what now the phenomenon that is Everything Everywhere All at Once, not even thinking that we would be at this point with this movie where it's like everyone's favorite film of the year, essentially. And just being in that room, and because Kevin knows, and Daniel experienced this in 2023, there's just something about being at the Paramount at South by Southwest. It really, I know there is Sundance, and I'm not trying to say shade Sundance at all. I've never been or whatnot, but it's just a unholy experience. It's different than anything before. You know, Sundance is all the indie stuff and whatnot, but like, it feels like South by has like the movies that we all end up loving. Some of them are spectacle, some of them are indie, but it's a more genre fest. And that night, just having the entire cast there, the whole place was just erupt. I mean, it was energy of the fact that the last 2 years they hadn't had the festival in person, and they were the first festival to shut down because of the pandemic. And so it was all this just 9-day energy of anytime you saw a movie, it didn't matter if it was good or not, just bursting from that crowd. And that first night, I mean, it was insane. Obviously, Telluride, like I said, with Erik, that was a lot of fun. Just being there, it's quite possibly the most gorgeous place to see a movie. It's such a tranquil experience. But then going to the opening night of Fantastic Fest and seeing like a demonic priest sort of serenade us before we watch Smile was very interesting. Seeing Park Chan-wook get a like greatest of all time wrestling belt, and us kneeling to him before seeing Decision to Leave was a lot. Middleburg and watching The Sun. I think for all of us, watching The Sun this year was a experience we all tend to want to forget, but it's pretty memorable.
I still haven't seen it.
Nicole.
Same, Nicole.
You
gotta watch it.
Okay,
I've been putting it off.
The funniest thing about this is that I went to my screening for it, and they like had an issue with the key for the movie, so they couldn't play it. I was like, the universe saved me.
It's Bill Nye. He's trying to save you from watching it. I just remember watching that at Middleburg, and there were a lot of great movies that I saw there at Middleburg, but that screening, it was just as everyone said, it is a divided room when you watch that movie, and it's Erik's #1 movie of the year when we talk about that later. But yeah, I mean, the AFI screening of Pinocchio was really great. There were a lot of just great things, a lot of great movies this year.
If y'all didn't get the privileged experience of watching Triangle of Sadness at a festival premiere, let me tell you, watching that shit in a room full of the people that it is making fun of, that is an experience.
Way to start the fest. That was my first movie at TIFF.
Yeah.
Wow.
That was my first movie.
That's a lot.
And it was like 10 in the morning.
Yeah. Seeing Avatar.
Yeah, seeing Avatar in like the way it was meant to be seen. Yeah, my God.
Should
That
have been
was-
the
I
Lego
also-
square one.
Also,
Oh,
both
man.
times I saw Glass Onion in a theater, both at the premiere at TIFF and then at like when it had its week-long theatrical run. The sigh of relief that I breathed when the audience at like the regular non-press screening was having the exact response that the audience at the premiere did, that felt so good. And
Mhm.
like, what a fun movie to see with an audience.
Yeah, no, for sure. A lot of great experiences this year. A lot of great performances this year that were on the big screen, or even on the small screen that we saw on the streamers. What were some performances that stuck out for you guys? I mean, I think I kind of know some of y'all's, but
Are we talking lead or supporting?
all performances.
All
All performances.
Mia fucking Goth. I like
For both or
performance
just Pearl?
performance of the year across the two of those movies. Especially
Okay.
like I recently rewatched X for the first time since watching Pearl.
Mm-hmm.
And not just the like having watched Pearl and having the backstory of that character, but watching it knowing that Mia Goth was also playing the old woman and she's unclockable. Like, but what she's insane. She's making her claim as the best actress of her generation in these two movies, and I cannot fucking wait for Maxine.
Oh my God. I gotta, yeah, I'm praying that's maybe a secret March movie since X was at South by. That would
I'm
be a lot of fun.
really hoping.
That was a lot of fun.
I just watched Pearl last night.
Are you obsessed?
Did you love it, Eric?
Yeah, I did. It's,
Aren't you obsessed? Like,
it's fucking nuts. It's
nuts.
nuts. It's
Married.
Wizard of Oz and Baby Jane,
It's so
and
good.
a lot of David Lynch, and
Ugh.
it is so many things, and
Yeah.
it and her really just they straddle the line so carefully because it's not the kind of wink irony that can
Yeah.
just really sink a movie like that, but it's very close, and there's a lot of it, but it never just becomes only that. So it's fascinating, and I don't even know, she's
She's a
like
star.
fucking alien.
She's a star.
Those fucking end credits.
Oh my God.
I can't.
The monologue. The
monologue
is insane.
Incredible.
It's so good.
Again, like performance of the year.
It's really something. She's and yeah, I mean that's that's the real movies about movies this year.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
At least for the silent era.
Mhm. And while we're on the subject, also love Jenna Ortega in X. Like
Yeah.
new Scream Queen between that and Scream. And also she is fantastic in The Fallout.
Yeah.
Which got like, barely released on HBO Max earlier this year, but it's still there, I'm pretty sure.
Mhm.
And that is one of the best movies of the year, and she's incredible in it. And shockingly, Maddie Ziegler is also really good in it.
Yeah.
Who'd have thought?
Who would have thought? Anybody else? Anybody got some other performances they want to highlight?
I have like
Of course.
30.
Okay.
I know I
well
have
then
so many.
let's all start stringing them out. Let's just do them all. Let's just do them. I mean, obviously there's some big ones. I mean, it's Cate Blanchett, obviously, for Tar. I mean, it's kind of undeniable at this point. Like it's a performance that I rewatched the film a couple days ago because I got the 4K in on it, and it's just, God damn it, that movie. It's the physicality of the performance too. It's the way she's just conducting the orchestra, but then how 1 minute she's sitting behind a computer desk, and then she's going to kickboxing lessons, and then she's going to have a lunch with someone. It's there's so much going on in there, and so yeah, I mean, like that's that's a great performance. Anybody else want to take over? Anybody else got another one?
Yeah. I've got a few I can just run through real quick.
Yeah.
First of all, I want to say the entire cast of Women Talking, yeah,
Yeah.
and the Woman King. I was going to say the Woman King, but both of those, like everyone involved, incredible. I think
Lashana
often about.
Lynch.
Oh my God, Lashana Lynch, John Boyega.
Mhm.
I want to see him in more roles like that. Viola Davis, obviously, and then when Women Talking, like Claire Foy, but also Ben Whishaw is fantastic. Made me cry buckets. All three like main performances in Bones and All, I thought were fantastic. Taylor
Mark
Russell
Rylance.
is like high on my list for best of the year. I love Mark Rylance in that
Me
movie.
too.
I love Mark Rylance doing camp. Like
Fucking brilliant.
He ate.
incredible.
And Chloe
he
Sevigny
did.
too.
Oh my
They
God. They were hungry to get those roles. Oh my God.
Y'all.
I love Jack Loudon and Benediction. Benediction was such a hard
Oh,
call this year,
yes.
but it is one of my favorites, and he
It's
is
on my
so
list.
great in it.
Okay.
Bill Nighy, speaking of British-ish men in Living, phenomenal. I also like we could talk about how I feel about the fact that I have 2 cannibal movies this year that I'm obsessed with, but I love Sebastian Stan in Fresh so much, but also Daisy Edgar Jones in that movie, astounding. I love her. Glad that she had a good movie this year. Also, I gotta give a shout out to like everyone in Banshees of Inisherin, a film that I finally watched with my family the other day. And my dad stayed awake the whole time and would not stop. And my parents would not stop talking about Carrie Condon after the movie, which was
She's
perfect,
amazing.
because that is the right response. And you know, my family are Marvel people, so they were like, "That's Barry from Eternals," and I was like, "Yeah." And they were very impressed. But the other performance, which is a little out there that I really want to say because it's a performance I think about a lot, is Chris Pine in Don't Worry, Darling. Because I want to see Chris Pine play villains all the time now. Like
All the time.
I would join his cult.
Absolutely.
Like, where is it? I'll join it. But
Mhm.
he reminds me in some ways of like Hugh Grant, and that I actually like him better playing like a villainous side character than I do as a leading man. And I want to see people use
So
him that
Paddington
more.
3 is what we're looking at.
That is exactly. I'm asking for the villains in Paddington 3 to be Chris Pine and Olivia Colman. Like that's what I want. So
Yes.
Wow.
that's
I
what
love
I'm also
that.
Olivia
Mm.
Colman, another great performance in a not so good movie. But shout out Queen, she never disappoints. She's the only queen we
Literally
have left after
never.
this year. So.
Yeah.
Even in the tiniest role, in the
Or
tiniest
animated.
voiceover role.
She's great in her animated roles.
Yeah.
Mm.
Great.
Mhm.
Also,
yeah.
I feel like I have to start this, and I'll let Erik finish it for me. But Frankie Corio in Aftersun is astounding. The fact that that's her first ever role is insane, and the chemistry that she has with her co-star is really great. And you can tell how much they like worked on building that. Erik, do you want to take over talking about Aftersun for me now?
Well, what I think is really exceptional about Corio is how much of the story and the script was kept from her to protect her, which I think, you know, when you're thinking about acting, that can be a really difficult way to approach a character, and especially something like this, which there's really no places to hide because it's just a really raw movie. But she's incredible. She's natural and fantastic, and in a way that this role had to be. It had to be. But yes, I mean, obviously, of course, Paul Mescal is not even close. My number one, it's not even close. It's not even close. He is devastatingly good. It's an extension sort of Normal People. So while it's not too much of a surprise that he was able to be this good, I mean, he is the, you know, emotionally unstable, you know, white boy, sad boy. And no, it's an incredibly shockingly good performance, even though you're sort of expecting it. Yeah, it's I mean, the movie is as a whole too, but he's Yeah, see, I can't even talk about him. I'm just like trying to going, you know what? This is just
See,
like
I thought
not
maybe
even,
you could talk about him more eloquently than I could. 'cause I knew I
can.
couldn't.
And then,
I can.
yeah,
I just
Well, like,
want to like gag.
I just want to like
Co-presidents of the fan club.
hold him very, very close.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And
I
speaking
could
of
fix him.
close, speaking of, exactly. Everyone in the
I could
audience
fix
thinking
him.
like, if only I could be there, I could fix him.
Mm-hmm.
But talking about close,
I was immediately like, I could be the stepmom to this child. Let's go.
seriously, Eden Dambreen in Close, astounding.
Yeah.
Like, where did you find this kid? How is he so good? Astounding.
The story of how he was found by Lucas Stone is fantastic.
And literally just on the train.
Yeah, just like you look like the kid that I want to tell this story. I know nothing about you. Then, you know, trading phone numbers with his parents, and that was that.
Completely crazy.
Yeah. I mean, that's how old movie stars were born, and I love that.
Yeah. And like what a natural. What a natural. He's incredible.
That movie is, yeah.
Also, back to like, you know, Zaddies, David Harbour in Violent Night.
My God.
I did not see that coming.
I did not see this coming.
I did,
on the Best
and
of the Year
I
show.
love Dan.
I
for it.
totally did.
This is the kind of madness that I love. All right.
Dan is valid for this.
Dan,
I mean, show me an
have-
actor having more fun this year outside of Colin Farrell in the Batman. Like, where?
Precisely.
Where are
Dan,
they?
I have him on my list.
Yes! He's just like, no one plays drunk quite like David Harbour. He's
just
so much fun.
I mean, just the noise he makes when he eats a really good cookie.
My goodness.
Yes.
I have one, and it's actually 6. And it's Marietta, Taco, Hola, Rocco, Mella,
yes!
Ray. The donkeys that played EO in EO.
You're the fucking donkey, bitches.
Oh my God, that movie. Oh my goodness. That is, yeah. I don't know how you get like an animal performance to really come through as a thing. And I mean, I know more about obviously the movie and the cinematography, because sometimes the EO is shot like an iPhone, like portrait image mode, you know, where like everything's blurry except for him, and you're just
like on the ground with him.
You're there. Sometimes it's POV. So I mean,
it's incredible.
It's all of the things, which are more, you know, filmmaking techniques than performance. But there is just, I don't want to say something natural about how this donkey is, but yes,
yeah,
there is.
No,
it has sadness. It has
the single tear.
Come on. I mean, it was, yeah. Those donkeys are A+, and they should be at the Oscars.
Amen. Them and whatever
and
the name of the donkey was that played Jenny. Yeah.
Yes, and Triangle of Sadness.
Poor donkey in Triangle of Sadness.
My goodness.
I
wanted to say too, this is I'm trying to make my list. This was such an amazing year where these ensembles, even smaller ones, it was almost impossible to really pick one because they were such a great collective. Banshees obviously is that to an extreme degree. I mean,
Menu too.
Barry Keoghan is my favorite from that.
Same.
Women Talking, same way. I'm just, you could pick any one of them out and it's going to be the right answer. Everything Everywhere is like that, unless your answer is Jamie Lee Curtis. And then all the rest are okay though. But you know, it's just it's a wild year. But I mean, then you
Menu
have
too.
Definitely the Menu. Then you have
the Whale,
real star singular performances like Austin Butler. It's like that's it. There is nobody else. There is actually no Tom Hanks in that movie. It's really just Austin Butler.
Disagree. There is absolutely Tom Hanks in that movie, and he's fucking genius.
Dan and I will always celebrate
Santa
him.
Claus? What are you talking about?
Santa Claus?
So good.
It's gonna make
It's
it
a-
snow.
Elvis
That-
is a Christmas movie. Pass it on.
Yes.
The way he
Elvis
talks
is
about
Christmas.
snow in that movie, well, you're darn right.
Santa Claus.
Tom
I
Hanks,
know. No, I love Hanks in that. And I think
He is unhinged.
I think
in
he
that
is
role.
completely
That's
misunderstood. It's like, have you ever like seen a Baz Luhrmann movie? He's come on.
Perfect.
I do
Literally
still
a
believe-
mustache twirling villain.
I do still believe the role should have been played by Jim Broadbent, but
I mean, fair.
I understand what Tom Hanks was going for.
He was
Yeah.
going
And I
for
respect-
Jim Broadbent.
He was going
Precisely.
exactly. It was Ziedler.
They should have just let the master do it. And yes, I'm referring to Jim Broadbent as the master here.
Well, Eric mentioned an ensemble, and I've rewatched the film now twice since I saw it in Middleburg. But the Glass Onion, that entire
God,
ensemble
yeah.
of that,
Glass
I mean, pick a performance out of
Jackie
that.
Hoffman MVP.
Yeah, I was gonna say even like the cameos in the movie too are all part of it. They're
Ethan
all
Hawke?
perfect.
Ethan Hawke.
Ethan Hawke just showing up for 5 seconds.
The best internet red herring ever.
Yes,
Ever.
yes. We all thought he
and
was
Johnson knew it. He knew exactly what he was
He
doing.
leaned right
Yep.
into it. That was so
Great.
smart. But Janelle Monáe, obviously, Daniel Craig eating that role up again. But
Ugh.
Everett Norton is so good in that
Brilliant.
movie. Kate Hudson, phenomenal.
Mhm.
Just the probably one of the best lines of the year with Jessica Henwick is with
God.
Kate Hudson and goes about the sweatshops. You know what I mean?
So
Like
good.
it's so good. That screenplay is one of the best of the year. I love that. I mean, it was Colin Farrell's year. We mentioned in the Batman,
Mhm.
obviously in Banshees, but his performance in After Yang,
After
too,
Yang.
is incredible. He's
His
the only
Werner
good.
Herzog impression.
Yes, I've
This God.
Yeah, but
Literally
he's-
like that. He can make me a cup of tea any
Anytime.
day. Any day.
the ensemble in Nope. It's particularly Keke Palmer,
Keke Palmer in
and
every
Daniel
viral
Kaluuya.
video.
I mean, they're fantastic in that movie. I love that movie so much. I think of Isabella Rossellini as Nana Connie in Marcel the Shell with
Oh my
shoes
God.
on. That is like the performance of the year that started off the year that tore my heart
My God. Yes.
into shreds. Tilda Swinton in The Eternal Daughter is quite possibly one of her best performances ever in a career that's got so many great performances. She's doing everything in that movie. Leia Seydoux and Kristen Stewart in Crimes of the Future.
Oh my God.
I mean, those performances are everything and then some. Even Vigo's good in that movie too.
Mhm.
I mean, Maverick. I mean, I rewatched Maverick, recently, and yeah, the Tom Cruise performance, especially the scene with Val Kilmer, obviously, is just devastating. Felix,
No,
Kramer?
sorry. We cannot talk about the great
Yeah,
performances in Top Gun Maverick without talking about Jennifer Connelly.
yes,
who has never looked as beautiful.
talk about a time machine where you're just like,
Wow.
wow. She's
Yeah.
introduced
We also must give a
with a
shout
David
out.
Bowie song too,
Ugh.
so it's like the
Mm.
Labyrinth callback. Smart.
So
We also
Yeah.
must give a shout out to the hair and makeup team for making Miles Teller for a short moment the most attractive man in America.
Yeah.
Like,
That's why it's winning.
remember
That's why
when-
it's also winning all of the cinematography awards because everyone is sun kissed.
Yeah.
But like,
Of their
remember
life.
when
gorgeous.
all those
Everyone shot
men
like an
grew
Instagram
mustaches
filter.
for a little while?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I just love the fact that
Anyways.
I love that Tom Cruise said, "No, this beach scene isn't good enough." You know what I mean? And we need everybody to get back on the beach, and now they have a 3-hour reel of it.
Yes, they do.
It's
You
that's
know what I mean?
really
It's like-
just like that marketing team knows what they're doing.
He knew what team. he was
Speaking
on.
of homosexuality, I need to highlight
Top Gun or Tom Cruise?
a few actress performances, a couple supporting and some lead because hello. Dolly De Leon, Triangle Sadness,
Best thing about the movie.
A plus,
Yep.
definitely the best thing. Rachel Sennett and Bodies,
my God,
I mean, talk about a star.
Mm.
She could also do everything that Mia Goth is doing, but like in like a weirder
It takes a
way.
lot of work to put a
Yeah.
podcast together.
Tang Wei in Decision to Leave
Oh,
God.
absolutely adopts every single Hitchcock femme fatale without copying it. She's incredible. Rebecca Hall, Resurrection. I mean,
yeah.
I feel
She
I feel
keeps
like
delivering.
I know it's so depressing because it's one of those movies that like had a festival run and it didn't come out till like a year and a half after, you know, that, and it's just like it's disappeared. She is also just giving like performance after performance that are just incredible. And Vicky Krieps in Corsage.
I was waiting for someone to mention
I
Vicky
still need to
Krieps.
watch Corsage. I have not gone.
I do too, Ryan.
And I've got that screener.
To add to Eric's list of actresses, it's been a long time since this movie came out, but I am really sad that Dakota Johnson isn't getting more end of year love for her work in Cha Cha Real Smooth.
She is really
because
good in that movie.
talk about taking a manic pixie dream girl and giving her real depth and groundedness and making her feel like a real complicated person.
Yeah.
I'm still thinking about that scene near the end with the two of them in the car. In the
Yeah, oh
rain.
my God, yes.
Yeah.
And she's talking about like, oh, how scary, but how exciting for you that like you're still on your own right now, and you're able to have this space to figure stuff out. It's like, good for you. Like, you should take this. It's like, oh, it's so bittersweet. Yeah.
Vanessa Burghardt in that movie too is so good. It kills me that they're not getting more end of year love. Danielle Deadweiler. Danielle Deadweiler. Danielle Deadweiler. I'll say it a million times.
We don't have that long of a show.
we don't. I have three duos that I need to mention. Regina Hall and Sterling K. Brown in Hung for Jesus, Save Your Soul.
Oh my God.
Hilarious.
Brilliant, brilliantly funny. Dale Dickey and Wes Studi in a love song.
A love song, yeah.
God, Dale Dickey especially, just like talk about brilliant casting.
Again, I wanted to see her in Nomadland.
Yes!
Kind of
did.
Well, speaking of duos, Dan.
And Emma Thompson and Daryl McCormack.
Yes.
In Good Luck to You, Leo Grande, the best two-hander of the year. Like,
pun definitely intended.
Well,
yup.
Well, Dan, like if you talk about duos, you have to include N.T. Rama Rao Jr. and Ram Charan in RRR, the best romance friendship I've seen in years. It's just absolutely incredible.
Like, Hollywood used to shoot movie stars like that to look like that, as good as they do in that movie, and they have forgotten, outside of Top Gun Maverick, how to do that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Those are some beautiful men's.
Yeah,
beautiful men's.
I also have a few other names on my list I want to give a shout out to. I want to give a shout out to Paul Dano from the Fabelmans.
Yes.
Who gives such a warm, vulnerable performance that is really unlike what we normally see from his filmography. And it's one that I'm still thinking about. There's one shot of him where I think Twitter showed that image a little bit, where he's framed at the bottom right of the shot with the ceiling behind him. It's after he's looking at
pictures.
The pictures. Yeah. Oh my God. It's just breaks my heart.
Also, Paul Dano showing the most range in 1 year of anyone this year, going from the Batman to the Fabelmans. He really said, "Let me show you both extremes."
And then his performance on Hot Ones.
Yes, which is like
so funny on Hot Ones.
He's so good.
When he pulls out the like burp cloth, like I died.
Oh my God.
Yes. So let's see. Dakota Johnson. I also have Janelle Monáe. I have shout out to the voice performances of David Bradley and Ewan McGregor from Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio.
Yes.
David fucking Bradley, my God.
The two of them,
McGregor.
The two of them just absolutely broke my heart. And we'll talk about Pinocchio later, but like their vocal performances, especially near the end of the film, just really snuck up on me and like destroyed me. They're so good. More people need to talk about their vocal performances. Two other performances that are small, but I'm still thinking about them. Jeremy Pope from The Inspection.
God,
really,
yes.
really good lead performance. Carried
Star
that
is
whole
Born.
movie. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Brian Tyree Henry from Causeway is
So good.
he's like the rock of that movie. He's the weight of it, the center of it. I love it. More people.
Jennifer Lawrence is really good in it too.
Jennifer Lawrence is really good in it too. Felix Kammerer, A Star is Born for All Quiet on the Western Front.
Absolutely incredible.
100%. I'm also still thinking about his mud crusted face.
It's
just,
my God.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so like haunting. It's still like suddenly like appears in my brain. It's just really, really haunting. And then my last one here, I had no idea I was going to say this, but here we are. Sam Worthington and Zoe Saldana from Avatar: The Way of Water.
A million times, yes.
Literally, how has he gotten so much better? Like he got
so
better in
good
the past 13 years. My God.
They are so good in this. The way they handle Jake Sully is just impressive on so many levels. Sam Worthington just showed the fuck up. And
I also love it because it went from, Avatar was that movie that everyone would be like, oh, well, like, can you even name a character from it? And now my entire TikTok For You page is like Jake Sully thirst edits.
Well, I mean,
and like, if you know how the TikTok algorithm works, like, don't comment on what that means for me. But I'm like, yeah, I can name a character.
Oh man, I mean, Sam Worthington nails a lot of the really difficult decision making that Jake Sully makes in this movie. They're like really, really conflicting emotions inside him, and Zoe Saldana nails that conflict too, where she wants to fight but she can't, and then how she portrays like a mother's rage near the end of the film. And Sam Worthington has two of my favorite line deliveries this year too. There's a moment where he says, "I see you," so good, and then the other line where he tells somebody, "I'm just so happy to see you." Just
I definitely
killed
cried.
me.
Yeah, definitely cried.
It was very surprising because he's very bad in the first one.
Oh, yeah.
And there was no amount of animation that was going to change that. So it is.
The long break in between films, he went out and he learned how to act. So.
Clearly.
And I'll actually, from that, I will give a shout out to Stephen Lang, who is really one of the better villains in quite some time.
Yeah.
And he's been developing that between the first Avatar and this already. So he's really good in this.
He is. Yeah. He was the most skeptical thing that going into the movie, and he became one of my favorite things coming out of the movie.
Yep. Easily.
Yeah.
I'm just going to give a couple real quick shout outs and then we can move on to our next part. But we talked about movie stars. We got to see some of those like duos in terms of Channing Tatum and Sandra Bullock in The Lost City.
Yeah.
George Clooney and Julia Roberts in Ticket to Paradise. Not particularly great movies, but just great to see movie stars on the big screen again. That's just like something we all love to see. Obviously another great duo is Glenn Powell and Jonathan Majors in Devotion.
Incredible.
Another great duo is Nicolas Cage and Pedro Pascal for
Nick fucking Cage.
Incredible.
Yeah, for Unbearable Weight of a Massive Talent. Obviously, the best duo of the year, Chippendale and Chippendale's Rescue Rangers. Obviously,
you fucker.
But also too, Miss Flo in The Wonder, fantastic. Thought she was
Flo
really good.
in anything she ever does, but also I can't remember her full name right
Miss
now.
Flo in Venice.
Cassidy. But the little girl from The Wonder, I think it's Cara Lloyd Cassidy, is also astoundingly good.
I'm surprised Nicole, or not Nicole, but I'm surprised that Erik didn't say Nicole Kidman in The Northman. who is
Alexander Skarsgård in the
Guard-
The
and-
motherfucker.
Okay,
Yeah.
listen. That is the Nicole Kidman that I know and love and
Yes.
would like to see more of.
Yes.
Yeah.
Dan mentioned
it is. That is the Nicole Wigman that I am
Yeah.
and that always does it for me. So yeah, she is A+ in that. No notes.
Mhm. Can we get her in Shakespeare next, since she did faux Shakespeare?
Oh, that would be really
ooh,
fun.
that would be really good. Yeah.
Make it happen.
Daniel Radcliffe and Weird.
Yes.
That movie is
What a guy.
so good.
Evan Rachel
um,
Wood and Weird.
And Weird, yes. She's so
That's
Yes.
the performance.
a movie that was at the real beginning of the year, and not a lot of people are really talking about it nearly as much, but Zoe Kravitz's performance in Kimmy is another performance that is just like, oh, it's so good. Another great Soderbergh performance.
Wait, hold on. Zoe Kravitz as Catwoman.
Yes, she had, yeah.
My
Yes.
God.
Oh my God. Yeah. And then
The whole cast of Fire Island.
I was going to say Ensemble, Fire Island.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One of my
Yeah.
favorite ensembles of the year.
Yeah.
For me, Daniel Jimenez Cacho and Bardo, just a wonderful performance. And the last, but certainly not least, Adam Driver in White Noise, because you can't go a year without a great Adam Driver performance. And
Specifically in that one classroom scene.
yes, which is a great segment and sort of segue over to scenes of the year. Do you guys have some honorable scenes of
yeah.
the year for you guys? I think that, Nicole,
Oh,
you're
yeah.
right. That scene is the juxtaposition between a Hitler studies teacher and an Elvis Presley teacher. I never thought in a million years I'd ever see that. But I think Don
Incredible.
Cheadle and Adam Driver go leaps and bounds in that scene in a movie that I actually really, really like, White Noise, a lot.
Yeah.
But favorite scenes, guys.
You gotta talk about
Okay.
the scene of the, I don't know if it's the best scene of the year, but the scene of the year is the Juilliard scene in Tar.
Hell yeah.
I mean,
Okay,
that
yeah.
is the scene of our times, I think, and it's brilliant. The Hello College scene in Babylon,
Oh my God.
Hello, college.
perfection.
So good. I felt
Perfection.
every bit of that AD's pain.
Perfection. I won't say it because I don't want to spoil, but if you've seen Official Competition,
Oh,
you know
yes.
exactly what scene I'm talking about.
Yes.
That was painful to watch.
That is hilarious.
And hilarious,
Talk about Penelope Cruz making. I want her to do more performances like that.
right?
Yeah, some unhinged
best
comedy.
best
stuff.
wig of the year.
Oh my God. Well,
Sorry, Nicole Wigman.
Yeah.
Best wig of the year.
It's totally in the Greta Gerwig White Noise household.
Yeah.
Amazing,
Like,
amazing.
give me the
wig.
one with the most.
Yes,
I love that.
all the curls. The tape measure in Barbarian
Mhm.
with Justin Long.
Yeah.
I'm
Hilarious.
I'm gonna
Hilarious.
throw in a predictable one for Dan, but not to from RRR.
I mean, like every other scene in RRR is
Pretty-
the best
pretty-
scene of the year.
Pretty much, but specifically the not to
Yeah.
dance scene.
Not to,
the-
not to, yeah.
The opening montage where the two of them are best buds.
To Dusty, yeah,
To the song Dosti.
yeah.
And then the scene where Beam gets tortured, but he sings the song and brings like this rebellion among the people.
My favorite scene is either the last action sequence, which is basically the whole third act of the movie,
Yeah.
or the scene, right, the interval scene, which I will not spoil, but like and basically any time when they are killing a lot of British people is a good time in that movie.
Or how about that one specific shot of RRR
Yes!
with the blood splatter?
The best shot of the year. Best single frame. Beautiful. I don't know how many other people saw RMN, the Kristen Mungiu film, but the town hall scene in that it's one static shot for like 15 minutes and it is just freaking riveting. Incredible. The conversation amongst these townspeople, like it is one of those things that so captures the moment that we're all living in. It's fantastic. The acid trip scene in Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent.
I love that scene.
Funniest tripping scene I've seen in a long time.
Incredible.
The opening test flight in Top Gun Maverick.
Yeah.
Where
Which gotta get to Mach 10.
Yeah. Gorgeous. And the audition in Pearl.
Oh my god.
The World War I fantasy production number that I never knew I needed.
Oh my god. It's so
I
good.
mean, how's that? How about a double feature of Pearl and All Quiet on the Western Front? I mean,
I wouldn't survive that.
Oh my god.
come on now.
Come
on now.
God.
All right.
What's All Quiet?
Only if Nellie Leroy gets to pop in there.
Ah!
Hello, Poland. I don't know. Whatever.
I'd go to see it.
Eric, you have some favorite scenes of the year now since you want to bring that up. Good Lord.
Well, I mean, obviously, I love that we just talked about that college scene in White Noise and the Juilliard scene in Tar, because those are extremely talked about and scenes, very controversial scenes, especially if you are of a lower IQ and just have no ability to actually look at something for what it is instead of looking at something superficially, which Twitter and the internet loves to do with both of those scenes. The stuff that's coming out with like people watching White Noise is hilarious. It's just like, sure, just reveal how stupid you are. Go ahead.
Yeah.
And those were two of the best scenes of the year, and that's writing and acting, everything working in concert together. Since we were just going on about Babylon, I am on the side of loving the end. That montage.
Of course.
All things considered about all other elements of the movie, it is actually the only part of the movie I think is audacious. The rest of it's not. The rest of it's
I could go with that.
Pretty low key. It's not like risky or wild, really.
Is that Eric? I just real quick. Is that because like I don't know? It feels like like artificial when a studio says like this is us being so out there right now, and it's just like an elephant that takes a shit on someone, and they're like, oh, that's audacious.
It's like the meme of the girl with the frozen like peas on her head, and it's like, oh my god, she's so crazy. It's like it's like a pretty basic movie. It's not like, oh my god, this is so risky.
Yeah, I see crazier things happen at a Netflix party with Eric than I do in this movie. I'm telling you.
That's absolutely true. But I'll even go to the two other scenes in Babylon. They're actually really, really exciting and visceral and fun. And the Hello College scene is. And then the other, which is Diego Calva's first day on set, which was his actual day on set. That had the energy of what it was going for more than anything else in the movie at all. Anything else.
Cocaine. Yeah. Cocaine.
That was fascinating. Yeah. Fascinating. No tits.
One single there.
I think
that was great. She's amazing. By the way, that's Damien Chazelle's
wife.
Yeah, that plays Riz.
She's my favorite part of the whole movie.
She's incredible.
I want a movie about her character.
Completely.
Yeah.
Her and Lee Jun-Lee. Yeah.
Please. That's the movie I wanted.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Also, every single scene in Aftersun. So.
I'm going to jump in on this now.
Literally the end of Aftersun.
Well, that's a whole
scene of Aftersun. Watch at your own risk. Yeah. All right, I've got a few. Speaking of ending scenes, the ending bit of She Said, where they're doing the final edit and publishing the article, because I have like never been that riveted for something that feels like it shouldn't be that riveting. Like I was watching it like it was a major action sequence. Speaking of endings, the entire third act of Avatar 2, in which James Cameron said, I will now recreate the third act of Titanic. And I said, thank you, sir. That is what I wanted. He knew exactly who his audience was.
I literally think that the third act of Avatar may actually be perfect.
Yeah.
Like it may actually be completely flaw-free.
A few other ones. The Suspicious Minds bit in Elvis.
Oh God, yes.
A Star is Born moment if I've ever seen one. The Dior show scene in Mrs. Harris Goes to Paris.
Yes.
Where she's watching all the dresses be presented, because that is magic, baby.
Yeah.
The kitchen dancing scene in Fresh, because Sebastian Stan, honestly, in a way that no one since like Christian Bale, I think, has fully captured, said, I'm gonna be the cutest thing you've ever seen and the scariest thing you've ever seen at the same damn time. And then the bit, not even the full scene, but just the little bit in Glass Onion, where Benoit Blanc is like, it's dumb, and Bertie J is like, it's so dumb, it's brilliant, and he's like, no, it's just dumb. Because that's incredible, and also the sound clip that I needed. So and actually my final one is the opening of Don't Worry Darling, where with the party scene, where they're all trying to balance like dirty martinis on their heads, is frankly incredible, because the way that they build that atmosphere to like lull you into complacency almost is fantastic.
I love that movie.
I'm a little shocked, Nicole, that you didn't mention shirtless Robert Pattinson in The Batman.
When he moves that table.
Oh my God.
Exactly.
When he moved the table, he moved us.
Okay, listen, that man takes his shirt off and he has muscles like a ballet dancer. And I'm like, forget the men of Top Gun. This is what I want.
Yeah.
In any case,
dark, broody, and father issues written.
Oh my God.
Actually, though, the scene in The Batman between him and Andy Serkis when he's in the hospital, one of my favorites of the year.
The taxes and laundry monologue and scene.
Obviously. Yep.
Totally just absolutely destroyed. I just rewatched it the other night with Zach and Erik. Completely hit differently. Totally hit differently than when I saw it for the first time. But yeah, that is a scene for me.
I've got a few as well.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go with since Erik was talking about everything everywhere, I'm gonna go with the entire scene conversation when they're rocks.
Yes.
That moment struck me the first time, and it still brings me a lot of joy to watch other people react to that scene. I
can't believe they were able to do that.
I know, right? And for everyone that I've showed the movie to so far, it is at the scene with the rocks where things start to click for them. Where they're like, oh, you know, and I love that. There's not that many scenes this year in any movie that like something just suddenly clicks. But another thing I have where it suddenly clicks for me is from the Fabelmans. It's Judd Hirsch's monologue. It's when everything about that movie just suddenly snaps in place. Yeah. And then speaking of Fabelmans, the scene where the bully confronts Sammy Fabelman near the end, where he asks him about the movie he made and why did you shoot me that way, was a conversation that I never thought I was going to get. And it was a conversation that I never thought about, honestly, until the movie introduced that. And I thought it was such a fascinating idea. There's so much nuance and substance to it. Really, really, really good. The opening dance sequence in After Yang to the credits.
Yes.
Is one for the books. And then Nope. Everything, the flashback with Gordy.
Oh my god! Oh my god!
You want to talk about like scary stuff in movies this year and scary things that happened in Nope? Actually, I think the most terrifying thing was everything with Gordy.
Yeah,
It's the way it's shot,
from the get-go.
The way it's shot, the way Jordan Peele moves the camera or frames things a certain way to make you not see any details, and then that sound design, it just fills up your imagination, and just the way everything with Gordy actually helps the film thematically. It's so good.
That shoot
I want to throw my hat
on its tip is one of the scariest parts of all of it. It's literally waiting for the shoe to drop.
Yeah.
Want to throw my hat in the ring for the scene with Brandon Perea in Nope.
Just any of them?
Just
any of them.
Brandon Perea in Nope. Just, you know.
That was the last segment, Dan.
That was good.
No, I think that the one that also has gone viral a lot on Twitter and over the last couple of days, and it's rightfully so, is when Dominic is asking Siobhan if she would ever fall in love with a boy like him, and she
heartbreaking
declines. And it's just, that's when I think that movie clicks finally for everyone, if it hadn't already, and it's then sets up that third act, which is just beautiful. Ciao Papa in Pinocchio. I'm just gonna say things down to make Eric cry. Just a beautiful turning point for that film. But then also I think of the entire dance sequence in Bardo, in particular, just when David Bowie and the music just plays and it's just David Bowie singing, like that whole sequence right there. I watched that
many times, just that sequence.
So good. Fabelmans, Kevin's right. There's a couple scenes there for me. I think of the editing of the camping video, played with that beautiful just piano score and everything there. I think also too of Michelle Williams asking Gabriel LaBelle at the end for forgiveness for hitting him, and you just oppose that to then Paul Dano finally thinking and allowing, essentially, and giving permission for Sammy to become an artist, and everything, knowing what it's doing to his son. But then also David frickin' Lynch coming in there at the end and just giving us the best goddamn ending of the year. It's so good. It's hilarious. And then the final movement of the camera that Spielberg did himself to move the horizon. It's so good. White Noise's closing credits are right there with After Yang. Jodie Turner-Smith decided, I'm going to have the best opening and closing of the year, because it's just a lot of really great fun.
We could spend honestly the majority of this just talking about how good endings were in movies this year, because I'll tell you, you will be a whole full star extra if you
land it,
kill your ending. And the Fabelmans, talk about that was audacious, and there's only one person that could really have done that, and Sam.
Kevin will like this. This is one of my last ones. It is the scene in which Nicholas Hoult has to cook in the menu. And I swear to God, when I saw that, my mouth was on the floor and I had the biggest grin on my face, because I was like, yes, this movie gets it. I love it. It was so good. Him just juggling those hands, and it's hysterical. It's
the kicker of that scene when it shows the actual dish
and the
label,
and then the title card. Tyler's did. Oh my God, so good.
Honestly, anything that Nicholas Hoult did in the menu was flawless, because he's so perfect. When he stays behind with the women, literally anything he does in it is a perfect. He's perfect.
So good in that movie. So good.
So good.
Well, let's talk about some of our favorite films of the year. I know that we've talked a lot about them within some of these performances and whatnot, but and I know obviously we know Eric's favorite film of the year. I'm just curious. No, he didn't love any movies this year. But I'm just curious for you, maybe upon rewatches over the last couple of weeks, or maybe something that's lingered for you, because I feel like a lot of movies have truly lingered for us this year, and those are the ones we're going back to, and that's ultimately the ones I think that end up on our list. Do any of y'all have those that upon the screeners and stuff that grew for you, or that you love more now than when you first saw them?
I'd mentioned The Fallout earlier. That is one that has grown only more potent in my memory ever since I saw it. Saw it at South by Southwest last year.
Yeah, it was on the virtual platform.
Yeah, and then then I saw it again when it released on HBO Max. I'm like, God, this is even better than I remember. And the more and more I have thought about that movie, it holds up even better for me. It's just outside my top 10 of the year. What it has to say about this culture that allows this kind of violence in schools, school shootings to continue in that way, is so incredibly powerful, and it's done really, really well. And it's a debut feature. Like, come on.
The ending
Insane.
of that movie too is like the only ending that movie could have.
The ending of that movie is so brilliant. The denial of any catharsis, because this is the way the world is. Brilliant.
Yeah. It's not one of my top 10 films of the year, but it's a movie that's in my top 20. And I rewatched it recently, and I just think it's so beautiful. And it was on the festival circuit last year. It released on Mubi this year. It's a movie called Great Freedom. I don't know if anyone's seen that.
Eric? Yes. Nicole, if you have not seen this, you need to.
It's a very Nicole movie.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's so beautiful. It's very complicated. I think it's doing a lot of things, and it could go very. I think it could go very much in like a very sappy sort of way, but it grounds it all in this friendship about these two men who are very different than one another, and we've seen that many times before, and it could be very, just like, oh, okay, they're different and whatnot. But these two performances, particularly, obviously, I think one of the best actors working on the planet, in Franz Rosakowski, he's just incredible in this movie. And yeah, I just think about the scenes in which like he's outside in the cold with the people that he either has a relationship with or is trying to have a fling with, and it's just really, really sad. It's a really beautiful film that I don't think enough people are talking about, because it's one of those movies that's in between, because it released on the festival circuit last year and got dumped in like April, I think. But I really wish that people would check it out more. I think it's on Mubi right now.
I had one of those too,
like a real movie.
No, like a movie.
I had one of those too where it was like a foreign film from 2021 that was finally released here stateside in 2022. It's called Black Box. It's a French movie thriller. Like it reminded me so much of like the paranoid thrillers from the 1970s. Parallax View and things like that. It is so good. It's about a sound engineer who works for an airplane company, and his job is like analyzing the sound from black boxes after they crash. And there's a crash that happens, and the audio is very suspicious, and it creates this whole web of paranoia and conspiracy and government shenanigans, and it is so good.
Sounds very The Conversation.
It is very the conversation. It's very much, there is a scene where like he's just listening to the audio of this black box and we're just holding on Pierre Ninier's face, and it is everything that like you want out of something like that. It is, if you can find it anywhere to watch, highly recommend. It is a fantastic thriller.
I think you can rent it on Amazon Video and iTunes right now.
You should be able to, yeah.
Yeah. I'm putting that on the list. I'm gonna watch that before the end of the, well, not the end of the movie year. It is the end of the year, but before I like stop watching 2022 movies.
Yeah.
It's like the weird thing of when you start counting 2023 movies and when you start counting those.
Right. Similarly, like everyone, please, like I know it's in super limited release now, but find a way to watch Broker.
Oh, Broker.
One of the best movies of this year, and it sucks that it wasn't submitted for the Oscars because it's so deserving.
I mean, it was a tough decision, but they had to leave it off the list.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
They did not have to.
Oh yeah. I'm so proud.
You were doing such a great job.
I was, and then I just had to. It's
so proud of you, but
it's New Year, save me. Any other films anyone wants to highlight?
I'd want to highlight just two of my favorite docs, and that was All the Beauty and the Bloodshed and Wildcat. Were two of my favorites. I know there'll be other docs that people want to talk about. I'm glad you said Broker, because that was one of my favorites too. Lots of crying.
All of the entire second half. Tears. Yeah,
Pinocchio. So many things.
Women Talking, you cried. Bardo, you cried.
Women Talking. And it made me think of something, and I wanted to ask everybody something related to all of this, because the other day I made a dumb tweet. Am I crying more, or am I just mentally unstable, or whatever? And then
both.
And then a few days later, I basically answered my own question by kind of going through, my year was there was a lot of loss, and I haven't dealt with it really very well. And a whole lot of it was coming out in these movies that were very, parent-child and very family-oriented. And so they were coming at me in a way that was having more impact than maybe they would have. So I was crying more at things than maybe I would have. So I wanted to ask you guys, because it's a reflection of how I'm seeing things this year. Is a movie better for you because you have a personal connection to it, or that you respond to it more emotionally? Does that make it a better movie? Or is that the difference between favorite and best and all of that? And I'm really curious how you guys come at that.
It can certainly make me feel like I have a deeper connection with a movie, which then makes me have a deeper emotional reaction, which then makes it feel like a better movie. Yeah.
Yeah. For me, if I don't have like an emotional response to a movie of some sort, then I question if I think it's a good movie, especially as a very emotional person. And, that emotion could be like joy, or it could be grief, or it could be sort of any sort of emotional response. But I'm one of those people who thinks that like that's kind of the point of art, is to provoke emotional responses. But I definitely think that, if I can connect to a movie on some level, then I'm going to have a stronger reaction to it. I know that like part of my love for Aftersun is I've never been, in the situation that Paul's character is, but it made me think about the years, particularly whenever I was in high school and I was dealing with mental health issues and trying to keep it from my younger sister and trying to conceal that and what it felt like to be going through it and then have that added layer. And I know that made me respond to it a lot stronger than I might have otherwise, because I sort of understood what that character was going through in a different way. So I definitely do think that movies that are my favorite are often because I have some sort of emotional sort of like endpoint with it, that helps me connect to it. And it can sometimes be those movies though that you think like, what possible connection could you have to this? But I can have an emotional connection to something in like Avatar 2. even though
Yeah,
that's
well, I
about
mean
as far
that's
from our
the
world as
thing
you could be.
is that it's not necessarily a direct correlation where it's a one to one. You can find something that is working more subconsciously and surprisingly like that.
Absolutely. And I
Yeah.
think She Said and Women Talking for me are both really good examples of that this year, because they're both movies that, I instantly understood, because as a woman, it's things that I've gone through or my friends have gone through, and I've seen, women that I know experience. And so I think that's part of why, like, and I don't mean to generalize by this, but I think that that's part of why those are two movies that women tend to have stronger reactions to than men. And I think it's because there's so much in them that you recognize from your own experiences.
And it's something that I was feeling so awkward about with Women Talking, because I absolutely loved it. But the point that got me was Ben Wishaw's story. So it was the single man's story that got to me, and not the rest, which obviously makes a certain amount of sense. But at the same time, it was I guess that was my entry point to it. Without,
Absolutely.
I'm not a woman, even I can understand the plight of the situation.
And
Erik,
I also think that character is there to sort of, sorry, Kevin,
Yeah.
to sort of show the ways in which all of this affects men as well. Especially he has, God, the thing that like made me the most emotional in it actually is whenever he gives that whole speech essentially about what the effect of this sort of environment is on young boys. I was gone.
Lost it. That was it. That destroyed me.
Yeah. For me, I think for sure the movies that I rank higher every year are the ones that I either have a personal connection to or had the strongest emotional response to. But when deciding whether or not it's one of my favorites of the year to whether it's one of the best of the year, I think has to do with just me thinking about how difficult was it and how subtle is it. So like basically how much of a creative challenge it is for the film to nail it and to get it right. Because we've seen we watch a ton of movies, and a lot of them all cover similar things. Like we've seen a ton of movies about loss, we've seen a ton of movies about grief, we've seen a ton of movies about love, and things like that. But there's always, every movie always has its own unique angle at it, its own unique lens at it, and or they're talking about something very specific about a universal thing. And in my opinion, some of them are much more difficult to convey than others. And it's always a challenge in this field, because at the end of the day, you have to dramatize all of it. You have to translate these universal human emotions into something of a story that you tell to the audience. And that's an art form that takes experience, that takes talent, that takes passion, right? And so I think it's a balance of which ones do I feel the most connected to, but then also thinking about which ones seem, to me at least, the most difficult to get right. And that's where I sort of find the balance of, this is not only my favorite, but it's also one of the best of the year. And that's how I personally do it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think sometimes it even hits me on the first go. I know that this year in particular, when I rewatched, I saw the Fabelmans at AFI, and I thought it was good, and I had it in my 20. And then a couple weeks later, I was invited to a press screening, and I sat down next to my dad, and there was a conversation beforehand that was very similar to the ending of that movie, and it was like the worst thing that could happen, because now every time I see that movie, it's now a door is opened. Then I keep thinking about it. The movie's kind of peeled back its onions. I mean, like, it was really interesting. I was sitting in a car and I was talking with a friend of mine, and we were talking about the film because they're a critic and they had seen it as well. And then I totally forgot that my mom had an opportunity to get a full ride scholarship to play the clarinet at the University of Texas. My grandfather told her no, because that's not something that's real. And she had to get rid of all that. all those a dream like that. And then I thought back to Mitzi and her love of the piano and her sort of hanging on to that dream throughout the film, even though it's sort of dwindling and dwindling away. And then I remember seeing my mom at Christmas and crying, and like being like, I'm so sorry. Like, you've told me that story, but it didn't, and so it adds different layers. Like, that's the great thing about a movie is that you see it and it adds a different layer to the life that you're already living or the life that you've already lived. And the storytellers do that, but the audience then feels that. And that's the best way to connect with them. Like sometimes too, like you would think that you wouldn't cry during Marcel the Shell. But if you've had loss and your innocence,
I don't know.
and
You have to
people
be
are-
pretty soulless to not
I
cry.
mean, some people, hey, some people are. I mean, I cried, I think, next to you at something at Telluride or AFI. I don't know, Eric. Bardo was pretty tough to get through because that's a lot. That's also talking about my culture and also being able to see that and see it represented in a way that speaks to you than the just, lip service, I guess. And so, and then there's also like, I don't know, seeing someone pull something off. It's inspiring. Like, seeing the ending of Nope brought a tear to my eye because I don't know how the hell he pulled that off. For me, I was floored. There's also sequences in, weirdly enough, who would have said, Ryan would have never said this at the beginning of 2022, 2021 or beyond, that sequences in Avatar where like I'm seeing the water and the people's connection to it. And I'm like, what the hell is going on here? Like, this is random. So I don't know. I think everybody takes what they can into a movie. And I think for most of us, we try to go in completely unbiased, or biased or whatever. We just try to go in and say, like, hopefully the 2 hours plus or minus that we're going to spend in here is going to be worth the limited time we have left on this planet. And if it moves us, that is, I think, a win in its column, but it doesn't, I don't think, sometimes define it. But there are the exceptions that always, I think, break the rule.
Yeah,
I absolutely agree.
I have plenty of things on my like top of the year that I'm not like directly emotionally connected to. I just think they're brilliant movies. And then I have the other things that are like, of course, this is on my list. It drove me to absolute tears.
I know.
I lost so much water weight this season.
I know. I'm going to have to buy you tissues for your birthday next year.
We're gonna call it Eric's way of water.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Look, the amount of water that my eyes displaced in the last 5 minutes of The Whale was like the big, whatever his name was, in the end of Avatar, smashing down on that boat.
Both times. I saw it twice in theaters, and
smash.
Insane.
Yeah.
I was absolutely destroyed.
That was the movie this year that like sort of crystallized my emotional reaction to things and how that can sort of elevate what you think of the movie. The movie is like, for the first like half of the movie or so, it's like, okay, this is good. Like, Aronofsky's back at the very least. Like, like I'm glad that he's back. And then something happens and like goes into the last act of the movie that just Brendan Fraser line delivery that just pierces your heart. And when he talks about how he just wants to have done one good thing in his life, and the way he says that, and the way it just stops that scene and completely reframes the movie, and it put the ending in a different light, and like his relationship to all the other characters in a different light, and suddenly the movie became something else and became something so much deeper for me than anything that I was expecting. And then when you get to that ridiculous crescendo of the last 5 minutes where it just keeps ramping up and ramping up and ramping up, it is the most skillful act of emotional manipulation I have seen in a movie all year because it should not work. And yet because it's so obviously, and it's in a way it's so shameless. Like he is really pushing you. He is like, you are going to cry. No, you're going to cry.
Oh yeah. And the score is like, oh, you didn't cry yet? How
Yeah,
about now?
How about now? And but it fucking works.
But isn't that the weird thing? Because something
Yeah.
like The Whale is so over the top. It's so on the nose. There is zero subtlety in a single frame of that
Yeah.
movie at all. And then you can go on the flip side of something like Aftersun, which is all subtlety and all reading between lines and all organic, and still have an emotional connection. It's I don't sometimes I can't justify it and I can't quantify it because I love both of those movies for the same reason and the exact opposite reason.
That's I mean no, for sure.
It's weird. Like I can love a movie that just is a wholehearted like wow on the technical front. Like The Northman is my number 5 movie of the year because that movie just goes so fucking hard. It starts at a 10 and only ramps up from there, but it's all like about the muscularity of the filmmaking and just pummeling everything home.
Yes, please.
And I love it. I love that.
Where is this going?
But when you
getting a little hot in here.
But when you can get that real emotional connection to add to the artistic pummeling is when something really goes over the top for me. And that's why The Whale and Everything Everywhere and Broker are my top 3 of the year. And then we have RRR and The Northman. Yeah. Because those are great movies, but they didn't quite move me to tears like the other 3.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's like another movie that I think is in a way designed for all of us to cry, and we know that it's going to be a little manipulative, is The Fabelmans. You know what I mean? And that's like in my number 3. And then a different kind of like emotion was the ending of Decision to Leave, which is like a movie that, I mean, you could cry if you want to, but but like as the movie was going on, I was like, oh no, like this is so beautiful. This is so beautiful. And then you're moved by the beauty of it. You know what I mean? And there's different things, but like my number 1 movie of the year, I didn't cry through it at all. I actually laughed out of the I laughed out of the theater when I saw Tar. I was like, this is hilarious. But maybe that just speaks about me too.
Yes, the ending of Tar is hilarious.
It is hilarious. because of what he's saying. Yep.
Perfect.
It's a perfect ending.
Yeah.
Other
best? This is the best year of
endings, scores,
like for real.
Yeah, it's been a really good year.
I am life changed, altered, forever listening to Under Pressure now. Ever.
Yeah.
Ever.
No other movie can use it now.
No.
It's been claimed.
Yeah.
It came up on a playlist as I was doing laundry. Gone.
Gone.
I lost it.
Any other things you guys want to just real quickly shout out before we're done with 2022 favorite things and we start making the transition out of here?
I need to shout out Living, which is an incredible movie in which Bill Nye finally like really gets to take center stage, because I feel like he has played mostly supporting characters and he is astounding. The whole film is astounding. I also, and this is must be a thing, but I just want to say justice for Don't Worry Darling, because having seen that movie many times now, because my sister is obsessed with it, I genuinely think the only thing in that film that has any flaws in it is the script. Because I do think that like it falls apart a little bit in the end, but the production design, the costume design, the hair and makeup are all flawless. It has really beautiful cinematography, really strong direction, and I actually think all the performances are strong. Florence is amazing. Chris Pine is amazing. Gemma Chan is underused but amazing. Give me the sequel about her. And I don't think Harry Styles is even that bad, and I think he's doing exactly what that character is meant to do. And I also think it's worth it because, listen, whatever else happened between them, Florence Pugh and Olivia Wilde have insanely good chemistry. The parts of that movie that are focused on Buddy and Alice are the best parts.
Yeah.
And, you know, obviously there was a lot of drama around it that I think ended up overshadowing the fact that, like, it's a good movie. And also it got a lot of criticism because people wanted to jump on Olivia Wilde in a way that male directors get by with much worse, and their movies don't have to pay for it. So that's my spiel.
Yeah, and the whole thing with Harry Styles, and before people had seen it and seeing clips, are like, oh my god, what's his accent? What's he doing? It's like, if you watch the movie, you might have a little bit of an understanding of what's going on. So shut the fuck up.
No, if you want to talk about Harry Styles being bad in My Policeman, like, be my guest. But he is doing exactly what he was meant to do, and don't.
He's legitimately bad in My Policeman.
Yeah, it's not good.
And that has some terrible dialogue.
Oh my god, it does. Anyone else? Any other favorite thing?
Yeah. Emily the Criminal.
Yes.
Yeah, Aubrey Plaza. Yes.
Aubrey Plaza. What a fucking year for her. And I will absolutely shout out how shockingly amazing Puss in Boots: The Last Wish was.
Yes.
Hey,
I need to go see it.
It's incredible.
Yeah, I need to see that too. I made some small changes in my top 10 in the past few days. One was Nope. It was my number 6 for a long time. But then I went to Universal Studios Hollywood like a few days ago with my family, and we were on the studio tour, and near the end of the studio tour, there was the Jupiter's Claim from Nope.
Oh,
there was the set and the props. They were all there. And I was so taken aback by how happy I was when I saw it. And it brought me back to the theme that Michael Abels wrote for the end of that movie. And it brought me back to that shot of Daniel Kaluuya on the horse under the Out Yonder sign. And it just brought me back to the incredible amount of joy I felt when I saw that movie. And I realized, wow, Nope has really, really stayed in my mind throughout the entire year, that I decided, screw it, I'm bumping it up to 5. So Nope is in my top 5 now. As for other changes, my 2 and 3 for a long time were Decision to Leave and The Fabelmans. And speaking of that, Decision to Leave is the movie that made the biggest changes in terms of placement for my year. When Erik and I first saw it at TIFF, it was in my top 20. By the time TIFF was over, it became top 15. And then it kind of moved up and up and up. And then I was so excited to see it again when it was going to play at New York Film Festival. After I saw it the second time, it then went into top 10, and then give it 2 more weeks, it's now top 3. And so Decision to Leave was my number 2 for a very long time, until I saw The Fabelmans for the second time. And I just thought, there's too many things in The Fabelmans that spoke to me in a way that I didn't quite get from other movies about art and about being a creator. Because there's so many movies that talk about, pursuing your passion and pursuing your dream, even though it's challenging, But The Fabelmans straight up says the endless struggle of being an artist is it will force you to neglect other important people in your life. And it is not just a choice you have to make. It is a choice you have to make again and again and again at every stage of your life. And so it's not something you can get over. It's something that stays with you throughout your life. And it's especially, I don't know the right word, like, it's so weird and tricky of being an artist, because when you're an artist, you're in control of everything. You direct everything. But when you're living your life and having your own personal struggles and your family struggles, you're not in control of any of that. And so The Fabelmans was also the first movie that made me realize, wow, like, watching a movie or making a movie is also a way of, like, coping. It's a way of making sense of the world that you're in. And I just thought that's so brilliant. And I know a lot of people have talked about how good the movie is, but not enough people talk about how good the script is. I think the writing in The Fabelmans is so truthful. You can talk about it being sentimental, but there's so much regret written in that. There's so much vulnerability, and just I applaud Spielberg for just being so willing to go in that territory. And he made such a great film out of it. And so The Fabelmans moved up to my number 2. And of course, like I didn't have any other option for my number 1 other than Everything Everywhere All at Once, a movie that not only, of course, spoke to me personally as an Asian American, but I think that movie really taps into a sense of despair and feeling overwhelmed day to day, and also feeling like we're dealing with a lot of, to quote Jamie Lee Curtis, trauma.
No, it's trauma. Right.
Especially in the past couple of years. And I think it's very brave and honest and sincere for a film to just straight up acknowledge that despair. But then for the film to tell you it's okay to feel all of that, and here's how you can turn it around, and here's how we can all turn it around, is just, it's such a brilliant like magic trick on screen. There's like almost everything in that movie shouldn't work, but it all comes together and it clicks. And every single time I watch it again, the movie just moves me more and more. The first time I saw it, I cried over everything involving Stephanie Hsu's character, Joy, and Jobu Tupaki. But every time I watch it again, it's Waymond, played by Kiwi Kwan, who really, really gets to me. And at this point, I think like nearly every line that he says in the second half of the film just sweeps me off my feet. It's so I didn't have any close contender for first place other than Everything Everywhere.
I don't know about the rest of you, but like I find that going through the screener pile at the end of the year for the movies that I haven't seen yet, it's really rare that one of them will sort of break through and become like, oh my God, that's one of my favorite films of the year. And I know this came out earlier, but I didn't watch it until like the end of the year glut. Athena, which is on Netflix. Holy fuck. That is good.
I need just to like have like a recording of Dan saying good.
Honestly,
so I can just play it like at any given point in my day, because
I needed
I need to be able to send it as a reaction.
it needs to be like a TikTok sound or something. Something.
It's like
Nicole,
Eric's,
we'll work on that.
It's like Eric's gong from Glass Onion. Good.
Yes. Dong.
Yeah.
I have 3 documentaries I want to highlight real quickly because I just finally watched them, and they're not going to be like Oscar-nominated documentaries, so I feel the need to highlight them. The first one is Goodnight Oppie, which is incredible. Why did I cry that much over a little robot? I don't know. But the fact that it's not on my short list for the Oscars is literally a crime. I will be following up with the Academy. The other 2 that I watched very recently are Senior, which is on Netflix, which is about Robert Downey Sr. and Robert Downey Jr. Want to talk about crying?
Like, holy
the
hell.
way that is not only about, obviously Robert Downey Sr. and his relationship with his son, and then Robert's relationship with his kids, but the way that it also really delves into being very transparent about the making of the documentary and how they weren't sure exactly what they were making when they were making it, and the way that its meaning has changed because of the fact that Robert Downey Sr. is no longer with us, I think is fascinating. And then I also 2 nights ago finally watched Sydney, which is a really lovely, well done documentary about Sidney Poitier, for anyone else who's a big fan of him like I am. It also does a really good job of sort of showing his effect on other people in the industry and also his involvement with the civil rights movement, which I thought was really cool, and I think some people may not be as aware of. So that's also another good doc if you're looking for something a little bit lighter. I feel like a lot of times, especially the Oscar nominated ones are very heavy. But I really loved all three of those, and I think it's been a really good year for docs. So obviously there's a lot out there to recommend, but I had to highlight those. And I also want to highlight one animated film also on Netflix, which is My Father's Dragon, which is gorgeous.
Yes.
Gorgeously animated. Has my favorite voice performance of the whole year. Gaten Matarazzo in it is so good.
So good.
The entire voice cast is great, but it's also just a really sweet story and has some really interesting, I think, perspectives on family and, you know, mothers and children, and what a child's role is in a family. And I love seeing that sort of older style of animation that's not the like Pixar, I don't even know what you call that, like hyper realistic. And so I really love anything that looks more hand-drawn illustration-y. So that's the one that I feel like.
Good, then you'll love Puss in Boots.
Listen, everyone's like, I think you're really gonna like it. I need to go. I think I'm gonna go see it in the theater. But yeah, I feel like that one's sort of getting lost, and I really want to urge everyone to watch it because it's on Netflix, so it's very easy to watch, and it's very sweet.
Yeah,
that 2 lines in that movie.
Oh my god, I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yep, tears.
Yep.
Tears.
Oh, I cried.
Last 2 things I want to highlight is my favorite documentary of the year, which is Fire of Love, a movie I saw way back at Sundance, and then I made an appointment to see it on a big screen at South by. The fact that all that sound had to be recreated is extraordinary, given the fact when you watch that footage is unreal. And the last thing I'm going to mention for 2022, it's not technically a movie, but I believe it pertains to kind of everything that like Kevin was talking about, a lot of what we've been talking about, and poses to Eric's question too. And I think it really is the achievement of 2022, and that's Ethan Hawke's The Last Movie Star, about Paul Newman and Joanne Woodward. And I think it is the 6-hour examination of, because we're always talking about what is a movie star, where are the last bit of movie stars left, and what does it all really mean, and what does it mean beyond just the screen to be a movie star. Those two were extraordinarily selfless and complicated, and talking, I think we all know about, both of them, but more so we probably know about Paul Newman. But the immense sacrifices that you find out about Joanne Woodward in there, who was just a true pioneer of what it means to be an actor, and their selflessness, their marriage, everything about them put on center stage. Ethan Hawke interviewing having all these interviews, and then these transcripts then recontextualized and read by famous actors, and most of them that were touched and moved by Paul and Joanne. In particular, they have like Laura Linney read Joanne's words, and then George Clooney read Paul Newman's words. It's a fascinating, beautiful thing that I think it's on HBO Max, and it is 6 hours. So it's this year's OJ Made in America or Twin Peaks the return or whatever. But I think for anybody that loves cinema and loves movies, I mean that is perfect within everyone's wheelhouse, and I highly recommend it as well.
It's
all
great.
Right. We are gonna wrap it up. That's 2022. We're in 2023 now. So Erik, I want you to tell everyone where they can find you, and then I want you to tell me after you've done that, what your most anticipated film of 2023 is going to be.
One?
Well, you can do
a whole page.
You can do a couple if you want.
I have a whole page.
You can do a couple.
Okay. You can find me at AwardsWatch.com, awards _ on Twitter, AwardsWatch on Instagram. And the things that I'm looking forward to in the new year, outside of obviously Megan and Cocaine Bear, are a handful of Sundance movies: Fairyland, Passages, Cassandra. I'm excited to see what Taika Waititi was able to actually get out of Next Goal Wins after how long it's taken this movie to happen.
You sure it's going to premiere this year?
April. So you might see it at South by.
No, it got delayed to September, evidently, again.
Oh, you're
This
kidding.
week. Yeah,
No,
no, I'm
this
not
week?
joking. Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
Christ, that movie, I swear to God. Anyway,
We'll probably see it at Telluride or at TIFF.
oh my God, there's so much. Challengers, the history of sound, if that movie is made and comes out this year, because I would like a Josh O'Connor double feature, double impact. Let's see. Maestro.
Yeah.
No Hard Feelings, the Jennifer Lawrence R-rated comedy.
I don't know why you're rushing through this. You don't have to rush through.
Because I feel like I have to go really fast because I
No,
had
you
a
don't. No,
and
just take your
obviously
time.
Barbie, Rustin, and Shirley.
Yeah, those are great.
Give me those one name biopics because
One-name
Barbie is a biopic. So
yes, yeah, it's
true. A biopic.
It's about your life.
I wish.
Nicole.
Yeah. Okay. So you can find me on Twitter, Instagram, Letterboxd at Nicole Ackman 16. And then obviously, I feel like if I say Barbie's my most anticipated, everyone's like, well, yeah, duh, we know. What else? Obviously looking forward to Barbie. A couple of others I'm really excited for. Hunger Games, Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. I absolutely love the book. I'm a huge Hunger Games fan in general, but I also really enjoyed that prequel book, and also Rachel Zegler is my child, so I'm very much looking forward to that. Also very much looking forward to Wonka, because I've been dreaming about getting Timothée Chalamet in a movie musical for many a year, and it's finally happening. Also very excited about another movie musical, The Color Purple, which is a filmed adaptation of the musical of A Color Purple, which I think is going to be astounding because I saw that on Broadway and I still think about it regularly. And then I'm very excited for A Haunting in Venice, because who would I be if I did not bring up Kenneth Branagh's next movie? And y'all know that as much as I love Benoit Blanc, there is one detective who has my whole heart, and that is my dad, Kenny B. And I'm also very excited for that one, just because I'm convinced that Kenny's using these just to get to go spend time in fun locations, and him making this story set in Venice when it's not normally confirms that for me. But I'm very much looking forward to, a backdrop of Venice. So
All right, Dan Bayer.
Y'all can find me on Twitter at Dance and Dan on Film, and when Twitter dies, you can find me on Post at Dance and Dan. Either way, you can find my movie.
1 week that's gonna come true. It's gonna be dead, and that post is you're gonna get all the followers.
Hopefully. So if you have not already signed up for Post yet, you should. A lot of your favorite film critics are there, including me. And you can also find me on Letterboxd at Dance and Dan. And my most anticipated that hasn't been mentioned yet, obviously Dune 2.
Yeah.
And assuming that it actually does come out this year, Disappointment Boulevard.
Yeah. Or Bo is, what is it? Bo is bad?
Oh, right. They changed it.
Yeah.
They changed
Bo
the
is
title.
Afraid.
Yeah, it's a different name.
Yeah.
It's a stupid fucking title.
Disappointment Boulevard was a better.
That was a great title.
Such a great title.
I mean, that poster, man, you might as well rename it The Boy Part 3.
Yeah.
The Boy Part 3.
It's something.
The Sun Part 2. Kevin.
Oh, you can find me at KLEE_film review on Twitter, or Clee Plus Films on Letterboxd. My work is on Film Inquiry, That Shelf, and AwardsWatch. Anticipated of next year, Barbie at number 1, absolutely 100%. That teaser is just amazing, and I am absolutely here for it. Other quick ones that I am also excited for. I am excited for Inside, the thriller starring Willem Dafoe, where he's stuck in his New York penthouse. Yeah. I am also excited. I don't know if it's coming out this year or not, but is Ridley Scott still doing Napoleon? Because if he is, I am very excited for Napoleon. Yeah. And then let's see. I didn't think I was going to be this excited for it, but after the trailer for Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny dropped, my inner 10-year-old woke up.
Great
You know?
trailer, terrible name.
Yes.
So
But still
I'm-
not as like depressing as Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1 based on the novel Pushed by Sapphire.
Although also looking forward to that.
Yes.
But yes, that's a great trailer too.
Yeah.
And last but not least, I have to include it because I'm actually interested in something that is not science fiction by Nolan. I'm excited for Oppenheimer. The IMAX trailer that plays in front of Avatar is amazing, and
Yes.
it is way better than the one that you can see on YouTube.
Yes. Yes, it is. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram and Letterboxd at Ryan McQuade 77. You can find my work here at AwardsWatch.com, the playlist, In Session Film, and other places. It's funny, I'm doing a list and on AwardsWatch.com. The time of this release, you will already have probably seen that on the website. It's my top 10 most anticipated films of the year. A lot of them are mentioned, like Barbie and Challengers and Dune Part 2. And my number 2 film of the year is that I'm most anticipated is what Kevin just mentioned in Oppenheimer. That movie, I can't wait to see Universal give Nolan the money to blow up the world. That'll be interesting to see. Erik, did you mention May, December?
I did not.
Yeah, May, December, the new Todd Haynes film with Julianne Moore and Natalie Portman. Hell yeah. The Bike Riders,
Let's
which
go,
is
lesbians.
Yeah, The Bike Riders, which is Jeff Nichols' new film with Austin
Yes.
Butler, Jodie Comer, and Tom Hardy. Giddy up on that. The Killer with David Fincher returning with Michael Fassbender and Tilda Swinton. A new noir thriller from David Fincher. Sign me the fuck up for that. Iron Claw, Sean Durkin, doing a psychological thriller set in the professional wrestling world with Zac Efron and Lily James. And
That story is so crazy, you would never believe it.
that story, I swear to God, if he sticks the landing, it's going to be amazing. Michael Mann coming back and saying, hey, I'm the real go to cinema. I'm going to have Adam Driver play Ferrari. Fuck yeah. Let's go. And
He didn't get enough with House of Gucci.
I was going to say,
Ferrari.
didn't we just do this?
Ferrari.
It better be the same accent.
It's going to be so good. I just love Michael Mann. It'll be interesting also too for most people that don't actually know Michael Mann's work to finally get introduced when they have to rewatch all of his movies.
Also, wait, the new Jonathan Majors movie.
Yeah.
The one where he's naked.
Yeah,
in
the one where he's the
picture.
bodybuilder. Yes. The one that got denied on Twitter for
Yes.
11 night. Yeah.
Yes,
Yes.
I posted it. It got flagged.
Listen, it's the year of Jonathan Majors. He's got that. He's got Ant-Man as Kang, and then he's in Creed 3. It's like
Yeah.
his year, whether we
Yeah, it's going to be a very good year.
and he will look good in every single one of those
Yeah.
movies.
That's his magic.
Oh God, the AMC Lincoln Square has the giant stand-up posters for Creed 3, both of them.
Looks like you're
next to
taking
each
something home the
other.
next time you're there. You know what I mean? Mhm.
Not just some things.
Some
my
things. But the last movie I want to say, and it is my number 1 most anticipated film, and I do believe it'll come out because it'll be released in Japan early, and I do think somebody will move on it real quick, is How Do You Live, which is the last film and the latest film from director Hayao Miyazaki.
Right.
I read a little bit about this beforehand, and the fact that he's making this as like sort of for his grandchild, knowing that he's going to, and I know this sounds graphic, but since he's dying soon because he's old, and he's making this for his family to remember him by, I sat there and I went, great, I've already started crying and the movie hasn't even released. So to answer your question, Erik, from earlier, yeah, movies kind of suck actually, because like they're
Who's singing the theme song? Leanne Rimes or Trisha Yearwood? I'm so sorry.
Oh my God, you're so mean.
That was good.
That's good.
I'm so sorry.
Oh my. Well, it'll probably be
That was
Trisha
one of your
Yearwood,
best.
but Leanne Rimes gets all the awards.
That's true.
for
That's a
it.
good point.
fair.
She'll get to sing it on the Oscars.
There you go. There you
Yeah,
go.
yeah.
It's the best duo of next year.
I feel like
actually.
people will be mad if we don't mention Killers of the Flower Moon, since that would have been like a last year pick, but
yeah, that would have been a last year pick. Well,
don't know what-
is it
we don't know.
confirmed? Is it confirmed yet or not? I don't know.
No,
Yeah, we
nothing's
haven't gotten those
confirmed.
emails yet. Nobody's replied back to us. And yes, once again, Mission Impossible: Dead Reckoning Part 1. Yes, I can't wait to see him try to kill himself again. He does it for us. The Man Saves Cinema this year. It'll probably be a pick in someone's summer movie draft next year. It's going to be awesome. But thank you once again for everybody that has listened to this show. We had a great time doing this podcast over 2022. We can't wait to continue doing it in the new year. We'll be back next week with Golden Globe predictions, and we're going to talk about the first movie of 2023. We're going to talk about Megan, and that's going to just be everything and then some. So thank you guys so much for listening. Happy New Year, and we'll see you all next time.